What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It's time to continue our 2023 schedule previews and projected records with the 2023 college football season, and we continue them with the Texas Longhorns. Here's the schedule last year for Texas. You see the overall record for this team going 8-5 last year. A better season than it was last year for this Texas team. They went 5-7 in 2021, and then they turned things around and had an 8-5 season. Of course, losing that bowl game to Washington at the last game of the season. But other than that, Texas had a pretty good season last year. You look at who they played in the non-conference. They played UL Monroe, Alabama at home, a game that turned out to be closer than we thought it was going to be, or actually we didn't expect it to be a game that was going to be close, but Texas really competed in that game. They had a really good shot to win that one. And then they played UTSA. Not too tough of a non-conference schedule last year for this Texas team. Of course, Alabama was the toughest one. And you look at who they had on the schedule. You look at who they lost on the schedule in the Big 12. They lost to Texas Tech on the road. And then they lost to Oklahoma State and TCU. TCU, I probably think that could have been a winnable game for them. This is a team that probably could have gone 9-3 in the regular season, but they went 8-4 overall in the regular season. So, but other than that, they didn't have too tough of a non-conference schedule. Of course, Alabama ended up being the toughest one they had. So, I mean, but there are new teams in the Big 12 this year. How will they fare against those four new teams in the Big 12? Let's get right to the schedule now for Texas here in 2023. Obviously, a lot of hype for them coming into the season. Of course, Arch Manning coming in. Here's the schedule for Texas heading into 2023. You look at who they'll play in the non-conference. They'll play Rice here on September the 2nd, and then they'll play on the road at Alabama. So a rematch from last year's matchup, and this time it will be in Tuscaloosa. Going to be a tough place to play. Wyoming here at home. So, yeah, they don't really have too tough of a non-conference schedule, but they do have to play Alabama on the road. That will be their toughest non-conference game. And then, of course, they still have to play all these other Big 12 teams. And there are some new teams in the Big 12 this year as well. We got 4 new teams in there, and they will be playing some of those teams here on the schedule. So let's go game by game now for Texas here. They'll kick off the season with Rice here on September the 2nd, and then they'll play Alabama on the road. What a game it was last year. Of course, Quinn Ewers went down in the game, and that kind of messed up Texas's chances of winning that one. But like I said, Alabama survived that game. It wasn't even an easy game for Alabama. And this could be an even trickier game for Texas heading on the road to face Alabama. And then they'll play Wyoming after that. And then they'll play Baylor here on the road on September the 23rd. Then they'll play Kansas here on September the 30th. So they'll get 3 non-conference games here to open up September, and then they'll play 2 Big 12 teams in September. They'll play Baylor on the road and then Kansas here at home. And then in the month of October, they'll play Oklahoma here at Dallas. Of course, they play Oklahoma every year here at Dallas. That game ended up not being as close as we were kind of hoping it to be. It should be even a lot closer than it was last year. Dylan Gabriel coming back for Oklahoma is going to be huge for them. And then Texas will get a bye week before playing on the road at Houston. This is one of the new Big 12 teams, the newcomers coming into the Big 12. What a game that will be on the road. And then they'll play BYU here, another one of those newcomers into the Big 12 at home. And then they'll play Kansas State here at home on November the 4th. Then they'll play back-to-back road games against TCU and Iowa State. Those are kind of tough back-to-back road games. TCU obviously winning it all last year in the regular season, and then, of course, almost winning in the Big 12. But this is a revenge game for Texas. Obviously a game that they could have probably won last year. It was a home game for them, but this time it will be on the road. And then Iowa State here, they were a young team last year, but you never don't want to sleep on these teams when you get into the month of November. They could just ruin your chances to get into the college football playoff as well. And then they'll end things out here with rival Texas Tech here on November the 24th. This game will be on a Friday. So, yeah, the schedule overall for Texas is not too bad, but, they have to play Alabama in the non-conference, and they also have to play back-to-back road games against TCU and Iowa State. At least it's not back-to-back road games like, maybe Oklahoma and Houston, but the Oklahoma game is a neutral site game, so it really shouldn't be that difficult of a schedule for Texas. I think this schedule kind of sets up well for Texas. I mean, of course, Alabama will be their toughest test there in early September. But let's get right to the projection here for this Texas team, and this is the scale I've been pretty much using through these projections. If it's a 1% game, Texas has no chance of winning. That will stay in the red. 20% games in the orange, games where Texas is going to be about a touchdown or 2 touchdowns of an underdog. 40% games, about a touchdown underdog in the yellow. 50-50 games, these will stay pretty much in the white. Games where Texas will have a shot to win, but also it's a game that can go either way. 60% games, Texas will be favored by about a touchdown in the purple. A couple of touchdowns in the blue, that would be about 80%. And then 90% games, these will be in the green. Games where Texas is going to be favored by more than 3 touchdowns. So, and that's what we always start with. We're going to start with the green games here for Texas. We're going to start with the 90% games. And I only got 2 of those on the schedule. It's Rice here in Wyoming. The 2 non-conference games here in early September. I think these are pretty much games where Texas will be favored by more than 3 touchdowns. They have no business to lose both of these non-conference games to be, again, the early month of September. Like I said, they don't really have any problems whatsoever. I think they're favored by over maybe 95% somehow, so they have no business of losing both of those non-conference games. Now we go to the games where Texas is going to be favored by about a couple touchdowns, and surprisingly, I didn't have any blue games, but I do have purple games. We're going to now do the games where Texas is going to be favored by about a touchdown, and that's almost the majority of their schedule. It's Baylor on the road, Kansas, Houston on the road, BYU, Iowa State on the road, and then Texas Tech here at home. Now, Baylor, obviously, it's a road game. That's why I got to put it in the purple. Kansas, I know they were, it's a home game. It should be in the blue. But Kansas, like I said, it's just based off of the teams from last year. Kansas made it to a bowl game, and they really can compete with Texas. You know, Texas has had some problems with Kansas over the last couple years now. And let's see if they can really try to win this one big. But this one right here, I think, is a purple game. And then Houston on the road, I probably would have put this one as a 50-50 game, but Houston and BYU are kind of similar. They're different to the Big 12. We don't know how good they're going to be in their first year. I've been saying that in the Big 12 videos for the last few videos now. And then Iowa State here on the road, obviously a tough place to play. I think Iowa State will be better than they were last year. Probably a decent team, not like a really good, not like a college football playoff team or anything like that, but I think they'll be a decent team. And then Texas Tech here, it's obviously a rival game. You never know what can happen. I thought about putting this one in the 50-50 games, but if this was on the road, I would probably put it in the white. But, it's a revenge game for Texas. I think they'll somehow be still favorites heading into that home game. And how about the games now where Texas is going to be an underdog? Do I have any red games where Texas has no chance of winning, or 20% games in the orange where they will be a couple touchdowns? I don't have any of those red or orange games, but I do have a yellow game on here, and that's just one game on the schedule, and that's Alabama on the road. I think they will be heavy underdogs heading into this game based off of the matchup from last year. I got to put it in the yellow. I probably would have put this one in the orange, but I think, Alabama right now, they're kind of struggling a little bit. Last year's game was close, and I think this is going to be a heavy underdog game for Texas. I'm not saying they're going to have a shot to win. I think they do have a big shot to win because they are a heavy underdog, and they are just about a touchdown underdog at 40%. I think, it will be a back-and-forth game like it was last year. Maybe a low-scoring type game. I think Alabama's defense is going to be really good this year. Texas's offense, they're really going to try to rely on their quarterbacks as well. And this will be a tough place to play for Texas. But the rest of the games here on the schedule for Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas State, and TCU on the road. I think these are all pretty much 50-50 games. Games where they can go either way. Oklahoma, obviously, that's a game that can go either way. It's always a back-and-forth game. I know last year's wasn't even that close, but I think Oklahoma with Dylan Gabriel coming back, it gives them a lot of hope and a lot of, attention for this Oklahoma team. Like I said, this game is played in Dallas every single year, so it's going to be a back-and-forth game. And then Kansas State here at home, I think that's pretty much a 50-50 game. Last year's matchup was pretty close. I think, it's going to be a lot closer than it was last year as well. So I'm kind of expecting, kind of like a home field advantage game here for Texas. Maybe they'll be favored by a field goal. And then obviously TCU on the road. I think TCU will be favored in that game, but just by a field goal. So, I think Texas will compete, though, on the road at TCU. And that's pretty much the 50-50 games right there that I think Texas will pretty much be like games where they can go either way. So how many games do I see them winning out of those 3 games? Well, I only see them winning one out of those games. I really only see them winning one of those games. Maybe, they beat Kansas State at home, and maybe can lose to Oklahoma State at home. And then, of course, you have the game on the road at TCU. Maybe they can lose that game as well because it's home field advantage for TCU. But as of right now, this is simply a projection. This is simply just a projection based off of that schedule. It's not my official prediction. I don't do my predictions until about the month of May. But as of right now, I think these are 50-50 games for Texas. So now let's get to the projection here. So if you look at this schedule, the games that Texas is favored in and also the games that they're underdogs in, that one game against Alabama and then the 50-50 games, the overall projected record for this Texas team in 2023 comes out to be 9-3 for Texas heading into 2023 as of right now. Yeah, 9-3 I think is a clear projection for this Texas team. This is a team that went 8-4 last year, so a better resume than it was last year and a better resume. Can Texas find a way to win 9 or 10 games this year? That's going to be difficult, but I think as of right now, I think best case scenario for this Texas team would be 10-2. 9-3 is mid case, and then the worst case would be probably 8-4. Same record as they were last year. If Texas goes 8-4, that kind of would be a disappointing season. But I'm expecting Texas to be a really good team this year. They got a lot of guys that can really play solid football. And then, of course, Arch Manning coming in is really hyped up. But that's my overall projected record for this Texas team heading into 2023. And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.